Hello, welcome. My name is Orla, and in this channel I read short stories for children and adults who are interested. And in today's video, I'll be reading a story from this book, Fantasy Stories for Boys, but it's for everybody. Everybody. And these stories are retold by Joff Brown and illustrated by Robert Dunn, Roger Langton and Sarah Silcock. So cuddle down and get cozy and let's begin. The first story is called Troll Night. It's a good one. Once upon a time, a knight called Sir Bedwin lived in a white castle. Sir Bedwin rode a pure white horse, and his armour always gleamed. Every day the king and his daughter, the princess, passed Sir Bedwin's castle. Sir Bedwin would always gallop out and salute them, holding his shining sword high in the air. Sir Bedwin was very proud of his horse, his armour, and his castle. One day, Sir Bedwin was galloping past the lake near his castle when he came upon an old woman. She was bent and ugly. She had a warty nose, crooked teeth, and a humped back. "Be off with you," said Sir Bedwin sternly, getting down from his horse. "Don't you know that the king is passing by soon? He won't want to see an ugly old hag like you." The old woman was a witch. "How dare you speak to me in that way?" she shrieked. "Let's see how you like being called ugly." She raised her hands and muttered a powerful spell. Sir Bedwin felt his body growing larger. His armour popped off and flew in all directions. His horse ran away in fright. Sir Bedwin looked at himself in the lake and found he was a hairy, blue-grey troll. His arms were long and his fingers ended in claws. He had a huge nose and giant yellow teeth, and his eyes were as big and round as dinner plates. Oh, there he is. He was rude to the witch, and she turned him into a troll. "Change me back," cried Sir Bedwin, but the witch disappeared in a flash of purple light. "You cannot change back until a fair maiden gives you a kiss," she cackled as she vanished. Sir Bedwin walked back to his castle in anger. "Look at what has happened to me," he called to his knights. But when they saw him, they charged at him, yelling, "Slay the troll!" Sir Bedwin tried to run away, but the knights threw thick chains around him and dragged him to the castle dungeons. "Sir Bedwin will deal with you later," they told him. No matter how many times he tried to explain about the witch's curse, they wouldn't listen. Look, I got Sir Bedwin chained up. Or the troll chained up. It was miserable in the dungeon. 2 knights guarded Sir Bedwin all the time, and the only other creatures he saw were the mice that ran across his prison cell. Sir Bedwin gave the mice scraps of his food. "At least you're not afraid of me," he said to them. "Where is Sir Bedwin?" said one of the knights on guard one day. "I'm glad he's not here," said the other knight. "He makes us polish and clean everywhere in the castle. While he's gone, we can enjoy ourselves." Sir Bedwin sighed. He hadn't realised that he had been so cruel to his knights. One moonlit night, Sir Bedwin was woken by a tiny tapping on his big troll nose. It was one of the mice. It pointed to the wooden door, and Sir Bedwin saw that the mice had gnawed through the hinges. He could finally escape. "Thank you, my friend," said Sir Bedwin softly as he sneaked past the snoring guards and out of the castle. Sir Bedwin with the mice. The door. But life in the world outside the castle was hardly any better. Nobody wanted to be friends with a troll. Of course, no fair maiden would even go near him, so he could never get the kiss that will restore his true shape. Sir Bedwin wandered far and wide until he found himself in a land to the west of his kingdom, ruled by an evil emperor. As the emperor and his men crossed the bridge one day, Sir Bedwin hid and listened to what they were saying. "Soon we will attack the land to the east," said the emperor. "Then the king's castle will be mine." "I must tell the king," gasped Sir Bedwin. He started the long journey back to his kingdom. Winter had covered the land in snow, and the journey was cold and hard. The emperor's army were marching only a day behind him, but he struggled on until he saw the towers of the king's castle in front of him. And he was listening to the emperor. "I have important news for the king," he said to the sentries at the gate, but they wouldn't listen. They drove him away with their weapons. Sir Bedwin was so angry he almost roared in rage, but he thought of a plan. That night, when nobody could see him, he used his great ogre's claws to climb the stone walls of the castle. It was a long and difficult climb, but eventually Sir Bedwin reached the window of the tallest tower and slipped in. The king and the princess were there, surrounded by their royal guards. "Sire," said Sir Bedwin, "your kingdom is in grave danger." The guards rushed at Sir Bedwin to strike him, but the wise king stopped them. "Let us hear what this creature has to say," the king said. Sir Bedwin explained about the emperor's army. The king sent out scouts and found that Sir Bedwin was telling the truth. The army wasn't far behind, but the king had enough time to pull up the drawbridge and defend the castle from the army. There was a great siege, but after many days the evil emperor's army were defeated. "You saved the kingdom," said the king to Sir Bedwin. "What would you like in return?" "I don't want anything," said Sir Bedwin. "It is enough to know that the kingdom is safe." And that was the king, Sir Bedwin, and the emperor's army coming to attack. But they won. When she heard this, the king's daughter was so grateful that she stood on tiptoe and kissed Sir Bedwin on the end of his huge troll nose. Sir Bedwin felt himself begin to grow smaller. His claws turned back into hands, and his nose and his eyes shrank. He was human again. Everyone in the palace was amazed. Sir Bedwin and the princess fell in love and were married. Years later, Sir Bedwin became king and ruled the land wisely. He made sure that he never judged anybody on their appearance, and he was never rude to a witch again. He learned his lesson. That Fantasy stories for boys, everyone. That was a good story. Until the next one, bye bye.